In this video, I'm going to be making a knife, but the trick is I'm going to be welding a piece of high carbon 1095 to a piece of mild steel so I can have the back of the knife not be hardened while the front of the knife will be high carbon hardened steel.
I got solid penetration through 90% of that butt joint I just did. I'm not sure why the welder wasn't welding super effectively. I assume I have a bad ground connection, but that penetration will be good to make sure my weld doesn't snap when I have the knife finished and completed.
Now, I'm going to move on to cutting out the shape of the knife. I do that with the angle grinder because angle grinder I find is the most efficient way to do it. Now I'm moving on to grinding this sheet of metal. I want to grind off the back of my weld there, along with all the mill scale and rust that's on my material. After I get done grinding all the material off, I'm probably going to put another weld in there to burn out any holes that I left in the weld. And I'm thinking that my table has slag or something on it that's preventing it from getting a good ground connection while I'm welding. Now I'm going to be re-welding where I put the butt joint weld before. I'm going to weld over that to make sure I have 100% fusion and don't have to groove into my actual steel in order to flatten out the little divots you can see on the screen. I have those on both sides because I didn't have quite enough filler metal when I joined these two pieces together. That feed is done.
Now that I have both beads done, that side I used the swirl method, while this side was just a back and forth weave.
Now, I'll be grinding the knife off camera. I'll catch back up with you when we get to the heat treating process. I know I said I'd be catching back up with you during the heat treating process, but I thought this part as I was going through my footage was very important. The reason I found this footage to be so important is because when I was doing my bevel for this knife, I was really struggling at making the bevel the proper shape and size. I just kept grinding through because originally the knife was supposed to be like a good 1/4 inch wider than it was the final product because I just kept grinding through and I'd have to back up and try to bevel again. So just be very careful when you're trying to grind a knife with an angle grinder. You can overdo it very fast.
When hardening a knife, I use the acetylene torch because I don't own a better system to harden. But with an acetylene torch, I find the best solution for hardening is to weave back and forth kind of like this so you heat the blade evenly. Because you want that steel to heat evenly so you don't blow a hole in it like the acetylene torch is prone to do. This knife's relatively thin, so it takes significantly less time for the steel to heat up to temp. The last knife I did, the steel was much thicker overall, so it took significantly more time to get the steel up to the proper temp. We want a nice orange glow on our knife while we heat treat it, because that orange glow signifies that the knife is ready to be quenched. And I'm going to put more emphasis on the bottom of the blade because, again, that's the part that I'll be doing cutting anyway.
Now that I'm done heat treating the knife, you are now moving on to watching me make the handle for my knife. What board I'm using here it was just a board used to hold other boards when they redid our roof at my place recently. So I figured this board should work for a knife handle. So yeah, that's what I cut the board from. When I originally chose this board, I chose it because I wanted a darker handle. Turns out the board just had some wood stain on it, and it was actually a really light colored wood, so I had to restain it to give a dark handle anyway. But that was the big reason that drew me to this board anyway. I figured it would be a nice dark colored wood. Was not. It was the complete opposite. It was like pure white underneath that stain. It was kind of funny. Now that I'm done telling you why I chose such a weird board to make my knife handle out of, I figure I should move on to my final reveal to show you what my knife looks like and why it looks a little different than you might expect from what you've seen so far. Now it's time for the final review. This is what the knife looks like. I originally tried painting it, which is why there's some black stuff still on the knife, because I couldn't quite sand all that out no matter how hard I tried. I wanted to see what black paint on the blade would look like. It looked absolutely horrible. I'll probably pop up an image on the screen to show you. But other than that, catch you next time. Oh yeah, remember to like and subscribe because apparently that's good or something.